Hi everyone, it's John from What Up. So, in this episode, I want to go through what I think is going to happen in the first episode of the Wheel of Time show. It's going to stream on Amazon Prime. Now, spoiler warning, we're looking at up to and including Chapter 10 of The Eye of the World. Why Chapter 10 of The Eye of the World? Well, we know the first episode is entitled Leave Taking. Chapter 10 of The Eye of the World is entitled Leave Taking. Not a big stretch to say that it's probably up to that point. So that's the spoiler warning. If you don't know anything about the books at all, maybe don't watch the video. If you want to get my opinions on this, then great. Now I'm going to start this by saying I am not a purist. I don't believe the show should be shot scene for scene, word for word, exactly as the books are written, because it's an adaptation. Adaptation means things are going to change. And when you put something on TV or in a movie, the written word doesn't always translate perfectly. Look at the Lord of the Rings movies. They changed a lot. Game of Thrones, they changed a lot. Maybe sometimes not for the better, but they did. Um, there's going to be changes. And I'm okay with that. I'm all right that there's changes. I just hope that the changes are so wide sweeping that they affect the major plot lines. I expect a lot to be cut. I do expect some things to be added too. Uh, Now, characters are going to be cut. Yes. Plot lines are going to be cut. Yes. It's just too many characters and plot lines and things going on in the books for us to expect everything to stay the same. Now, that being said, there's some things I would like to see shot for shot. And we'll get into that, especially in the first episode. So, prologue. I think they're cutting it. I really do. I don't think they're going to open with that. We've all seen the pilot with Billy Zane. It didn't translate well to the small screen, and it was pretty good adaptation of the prologue. But you're talking people who have not read the series before, and there's a whole lot of things that maybe don't translate well because you have the dragon talking a lot, inner monologuing the whole time. There's a lot of his dead family around. Ishmael shows up, the betrayer of hope, really cool name, loved him. I don't think they're going to show any of that stuff. I think that's all going to be either flashbacks later on, or they'll talk about it later on. But I don't think they're going to open the show with that because they'd like to open the show with a big bang. I mean, I think they're gonna speed through the first little bits of the show to get to things that are gonna hook people, and I think that's a lot of explanation and a lot of backstory that they're not going to do right away. I think they're gonna start big sweeping shot of the two rivers, Rand and Tam on the road with Bella, Bella the horse or Bella the pony. She's 100% in the show. She's been casted. um, I think that's how it's gonna start, and then you're gonna see there's no leaves, there's no spring foliage, like there's none of those things are there, and I think then they're going to discuss how hard of a spring it's been, and they're worried about crops and what bell time is and where they're going. I think they'll kind of set all that up. The fade comes in, they'll show the fade for sure. It's an exciting thing when Rand gets scared. I think they'll change the fades a bit. They look a lot like Nazgul from Lord of the Rings. I mean, I know Jordan took some inspiration, sorry, from a lot of different areas, and I think that because there's a Lord of the Rings show in development and there has been movies and stuff already, I think they may change the way the fades look just a little bit so they don't look too much like Nazgul. Um, Now, Nazgul have armor and helmets. Fades don't have helmets, but I think they may nix some of the armor and the fades in favor of more boiled leather and just regular black clothing. Still Black Horse. I think they may show the Fade's face just to prove the point that things are a little bit different than the Nazgul. Now, after that, they get into town. I think a lot of this is going to be the same. I think the very first scene that we may see at one point or another is Moraine. Now, Moraine is billed as the lead character in the show. I think at this point we're going to see things from her point of view, where she meets the Wisdom. It's going to be a great scene. Wasn't really like it didn't happen in the books, so to speak. They described it after the fact, but I think we're going to see that scene. And I think you're going to see where maybe she meets Tom as well. He recognizes her. They may get into a little discussion of who she is and what she is and things like that. And then she settles in the end. I think we're going to see those things. They're going to expand on her character and things a little bit more. She's billed as the main character. She is arguably the most famous person on the show that has been released as casting right now. So I think that's going to happen. So at this point, what I want to see shot for shot is when he sees Matt, when Rand meets Matt. I mean, the Badger. the on the oh yeah, I'm so excited about that. Like I love Maddie's my favorite character. I really really hope that is what happens. And then after that, when they meet Perrin and Egwene and Pat Fane shows up, the peddler. And again, I apologize if I'm butchering any of these names. I've said it a few times. I'm going to. I'm terrible with names and terrible with pronunciations and stuff. I just am. Feel free to correct me in the comments. So, um, yeah, I think all that's going to be pretty much the same, maybe abbreviated a bit. They may not go into the big thing about you know there's troubles outside and stuff. They may not. They may do it as well. It might be a good idea to show a shot of a battle or two. Um, and things going on elsewhere when Pen and Fane is telling the stories. I'm not sure about that point. Uh, I think they're going to try to get to Rand and Tam back on their farm in the Westwood as quick as possible. So when the Trollocs attack that night, huge scene. I think first we'll see the montage of all the chores, maybe for a minute or two, so you see what kind of farm life is like in Emon's Field, and then the Trollocs attack. And I think that's going to be a very big expanded part of the first episode. I think we're going to see them attacking the farm, and you'll see a lot of Tam fighting back. I think that's going to happen. I think they'll intersperse that with the attack on the village. I think we'll see that happening. I mean, in the books, you only read about the aftermath, but I think they're going to show the attack. They're going to show people dying, show houses on fire. I think all that'll be there. I think that'll be our first introduction to Moraine, throwing balls of fire and opening up rifts for the Trollocs to fall in and all that stuff. And you didn't see any of that. I think we'll see Land at that point too, just carving paths for the Trollocs. Um, Rallying the townsfolk and things. I think that'll happen because, again, it's a big, exciting hook for a new viewer in a first episode. They want people to watch it. People will be like, wow, this is really cool. I think it's going to happen. Now, something else I think they might cut. I think they might cut Narg. I know no one wants Narg cut. I personally don't want Narg cut. I love Narg. I think they're going to cut Narg. Why? Narg talks. That's why. I mean, for a viewer, Trollocs talk. Okay, cool. How come the rest of them don't talk? How come they're not conversing with people? How come they're not grabbing them and interrogating them, things like that? I think those are all questions that will come up. Uh, Believe it or not, maybe I'm thinking too deep here, but I hope they don't cut Narg. I think Narg might be cut. But I think they're going to expand upon the fact that when Rand is dragging Tam back into town after the whole battle scene and stuff at the farm, and Tam's mumbling about the blood snow. I think we're going to see some of that too. It's another way of showing a battle and something big and exciting and cool to hook people in the first episode. Then when they get back to town, again, at that point, we've already seen the battle perhaps in town, so they're going to get right to the point where he needs someone to heal Tam. I think he'll go right to Moraine, and Moraine will, at that point, explain everything that's going on, tell him he has to leave, so on and so forth. I think at this point, when Perrin and Matt show up to leave, like when they all get to the barn and they're all talking in front of the inn and stuff, and there's that big scene where Moraine's spinning her staff and the townfolk are all gathered around and they all feel bad about what they're doing. I think before that happens, if there are changes with Perrin, you'll see him just distraught with grief. Maybe there'll be a scene where his wife dies, or his cousin dies, or his sister dies, whoever the actress is playing passes away, and it makes him enraged. And I think you might see him grab the axe and chop a few Trollocs up during the battle scene. Matt, on the other hand, I don't think you'll see him during the battle because he's not really a fighter, so to speak. Even though he eventually becomes more than he is in the first book. He kind of hides for a bit. So at that point, I think Tom will have a little more expanded role too. I think he'll do a lot of the explaining. He'll be the way of telling the viewer, maybe what an Aes Sedai is. And again, I butchered that. I didn't say it right. I think he may explain the One Power a bit, what he knows, because he does a little bit in the books, kind of, but I think he'll explain a little bit more. And then they'll get to the point where they're leaving. So I've gone over a few of the big changes I think is going to happen, and I've gone over some things that I hope stays the same, and things that I think will stay the same. And here's the thing. Again, my opinions. I'm not a purist. I understand things can be changed. I'm not going to be upset if they change things. I'm going to take the Wheel of Time show for what it is. I'm a huge super fan, but I won't be upset. The shows do happen. I'm going to do a video on the first episode, like dissecting it shot for shot, because it'll be super fun and I'll love it. But I'm also going to reference this video and like I said earlier, and pick myself apart because I'm probably wrong in a lot of things. Anyway, I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight, and here's to many more.